So we are talking about the movie Aaron's Blood. This one written and directed by Tommy Stovall. The story here focuses on a young boy who is being bullied at school, and he's actually a hemophiliac, meaning he has bleeds profusely, obviously, if he is injured. And one day, thanks to a bully, he is injured at school and ends up going to a hospital and is in a near-death state. He's worried, single father, is going out of his mind. But he receives a blood transfusion. However, this isn't without consequences. It appears to be that the blood came from a vampire, and the young boy is now having sort of traits of a vampire and slowly becoming a vampire himself. And it's up to the father to try and figure out what to do next, as a couple of choices are in front of him. So let's talk about what worked and didn't work with Aaron's Blood. First of all, there's one big positive here, and that is the acting of the main guy, James Martinez, who plays the father here. A really solid performance, considering that this is a kind of low-budget film, but it is somewhat disguised. I will come on to that. But the performance here really gives it a grounded, believable, feel to it, and really elevates this material. So, hats off to Martinez. Absolutely a very, very talented actor, I think, and really sort of sells some of the emotional things, obviously, where his kind of son is going through all these kind of stuff and obviously very upset. So I really did think he did a fantastic job here. And the acting for the son as well, although not quite up to that standard, is not bad in certain places. There are a few scenes where the young boy has a kind of like a little bit of shaky acting, but generally speaking, I think he was okay as well. For a low-budget film, I've got to say the special effects are also pretty good. It being a vampire film, I feel you can kind of get away with the special effects to some degree, but there are a little bit on display here, and because they're used minimally, they actually come across as quite good for a kind of a lower-budget film. I mean, yes, there are a couple of noticeably CGI moments here, but nonetheless, I still feel, generally speaking, the effects here were quite good. And there are a couple of good moments here, and I quite like the way we have some morally grey characters. There's basically a dichotomy between the vampire hunters and the actual vampire himself who turned the young boy, and both of them have kind of a somewhat grey, shall we say, and it's up to Martinez's character to really decide on what kind of path to take. Is it the vampire hunters who feel that they should kill the vampire and try and cure the son, or is it the vampire who is trying to convince Martinez's character to basically embrace the fact that that this boy has now had a second chance and kind of teach him the way to become a vampire without taking human lives and things like that. So it's an interesting setup, and there are also a couple of decent scenes here as well. But what doesn't work? Well, here's the big thing, and I've got to say it's down to one man, and sadly that man is the writer-director Tommy Stovall, because the first thing here, the dialogue here is terrible. Really, really terrible, with a couple of exceptions and a couple of scenes that are quite well shot. The dialogue here and the direction is pretty bad, and this is why I say Martinez's acting is sometimes kind of masked, because what he has to say is ridiculous, and it comes across, if that it might be bad acting, but it isn't. It's the writing, it's a script. And the point where you'll realise this is where we have these two vampire hunters break into the home and try and kind of kill the young boy before he kind of fully turns. Things happen, situations just happen in such a ridiculous way, and people are so non-reactive to certain things that happen in the movie, certain situations. It's unforgivable. So there are certain choices that are made here, and I put this down to Stovall, that are just very, very substandard in regards to, like I said, so that it's just pure logic issues and kind of things that should happen, or reactions that should happen, conversations that should be said. Really, really disappointing. And that is the thing with this film. It's frustrating because you feel like this could have been elevated to a pretty decent film, because I say you can't fault the effects for the level, and the acting by Martinez is such a good caliber. It's such a shame that the writing and the direction, unfortunately, is substandard. Now, the acting as a general whole, outside of Martinez's character, whilst I wouldn't say it's terrible, there are some shaky performances, particularly from some of the kind of the younger cast. There isn't kind of much in the way of gore, so if you're after a kind of a gory vampire film, this obviously is not going to be the one for you. And like I said, there's just situations that happen within this film and dialogue that really just kind of make you want to slap your head, unfortunately, and just not be interested in this film. And damn it, you do not need to do this bloody cliche 3 times. 3 times we have Martinez having a dream and we think it's real, and he wakes up going, oh my God, it's just a dream. Literally 3 times. You can get away with it once, maybe twice, but 3 times, absolutely not. Stupid. So disappointing and frustrating is the kind of the word I would describe this film. Because there's such good stuff here. Like I said, this story is actually the actual story idea is actually quite good. The acting from Martinez, who is the main character, is very good. And there are some other decent performances. The priest, I think, is quite good. And like this, the effects, although they're not sort of groundbreaking, they're absolutely fine for this film. So it's very frustrating that this film is let down by poor writing and poor direction. And of course, this is the man behind it all. So if it wasn't for him anyway, this film wouldn't exist. So it's kind of you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. But nonetheless, as it stands at the moment, I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to you next time. Bye for now.